Hello and welcome to BDA Match of the Day. This is episode two. We've got a few topics to talk about. We're going to try and keep it at not as long as you would expect it to be. So we have joining me today is Jaffa. We have Manny Moana, which is Gid Gambo, and we have Vipers, which is Joe, of course, as you know. Let's have a bit of an introduction from all of them.
Alright, my name's Jaffa or Jaffa Cakes 97. I am a moderator on the BDA forums. I'm also an interviewer, although I'm not interviewing right now because I've got exams. Hopefully, I can do it soon. And yeah,
I'm Manamwana, also known as Gid Gambo. I am a BDA Manchester City co-manager. I am BDA France co-manager. I'm a BDA interviewer and a BDA moderator. For interviews, I haven't done them yet. I've only done one, but in the near future, I will be doing some more.
Hi, I'm Joe. I also known as Vipers, and I play for BDA Newcastle. I'm also their co-manager, and I play for BDA Italy.
Cool. So that's a little introduction for everybody. I'm guessing you'll probably want to put in your questions as well. So if you do want to put your questions in for the next episode, make sure to do so by putting it in the comment section, and we'll crack on right now. All right, so we're first talking about internationals. I'm going to come to Joe first of all on the group stages of Group A, where he's obviously the co-manager, well, technically manager, but co-manager now of BDA Italy. How did you think it went, and who was the surprise, and which was a tough game in Group A for you?
Well, it was hard at the start, as not many players did come on, and it was a bit of a struggle at the start because we didn't really know each other's playing styles. But once we got a few games and we all got fitted into the correct positions, I think we played well. And the player that most surprised me was B-Boy Max. He was quite a good Ennie and a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, because
I
obviously
think he played quite well.
Yeah, because obviously he's got in the team of the group stage and team of the tournament for being a goalkeeper. So obviously that's I didn't even know personally. I didn't know he was a goalkeeper, but obviously that's great. Obviously you lost to Germany twice. You lost. It's not like a surprise. It wasn't really a result that was just close. It was a huge game. I'm sure they scored 12 goals past you.
Yeah, that was due to not well because they had quite a strong squad compared to us at that point. So we don't really know how they were going to play together, and they just ran straight through our defence quite a lot.
Let's talk about France, Manny. Obviously, you're co-manager of France. What did you think of the group, and how did you feel that your team performed?
Well, in the first two games, it seemed quite positive that we had quite a few players that actually joined the team to help us out. My only problem was actually getting a goalkeeper properly in because none of the goalkeepers were online on the first day, which of course made me the goalkeeper in both games. And I think it didn't work out so well, just because since I was in goal for VD France against Wales, I wasn't too experienced, so it caused two goals to go past me, which, in my opinion, if we had a proper goalkeeper, he would have saved them. And I felt like I let the team down due to that draw not becoming the win. And it happened the same on Wednesday as well, which of course came out as the same result.
Looking at the group, you didn't actually lose a game in the all of your games from the group stage. Did you feel that they were easy games, or do you think that you dominated them, or did you feel it was a very close game with a few teams, or was there just one team that was just an easy, walkover?
Well, yeah, you can't just go and can't before a game. You've got to think like how the team may work and how you can work it out to get a result. And it seemed like there was only one game that stood out that where we dominated the game, and in my opinion, it was against BDA England, where we won 4-1. Um, and I believe that we could have scored more past them in that game. And then the rest were fairly even. Of course, maybe other teams might think they dominated us, or they may think that we dominate them. But I thought all the other games were even. So.
Going to you, Jaffa. Obviously, you don't play for a team, of course, but looking at the squads and obviously learning a little bit about players and where they play and where they're best at, and how they've been recently performing for their club. Obviously, you made a prediction to me and Manny when the internationals was running that the four teams obviously that got through was Wales, France, Spain, and Germany to the knockout stages. And your prediction was it would be a France-Germany final. Did it surprise you that Wales defeated Germany 2-1?
Not really. I mean, to be honest, my prediction, it was nothing more than just a
I guess.
guess.
Yeah.
It was just a gut feeling, but to be honest, I still not. I mean, this is the first time we've done like a Euros tournament, and none of these people played with each other before, so it's unexpected who's gonna prevail. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it was surprising that I was wrong. But yeah, congratulations to BDA Wales and you, George.
Oh, thanks. But obviously, looking back at all of the teams that actually went through, Germany did look like they were dominating the teams in their group. Is that why you picked France and Germany? Because obviously France was unbeaten and Germany was dominating everybody on the pitch.
It did seem to me that the Germany's group was a lot tougher than the other group. I mean,
Hmm.
that's what it seemed to me. I mean, if you look at the other group, I think it might be Scotland letting the whole group down, but then also England haven't been the best. But then if you look at the Group A with Germany, Belgium, Spain, Italy, I mean, they do. It does look a lot closer,
Mm.
and the gap between every team in the tables is a lot smaller. So that's why I suggested that Germany could go on to win, but obviously I was wrong.
Yeah, obviously, for my opinion, because I was playing in I think every single game for Wales, if I can recall everything. So obviously, yeah, with Wales, looking back at it, I played every game, and it did feel that obviously in the Germany game, it was very close. They scored first, then we scored. I think at the start of the second half, and then we scored from the corner in the golden goal, which was unlucky for them because obviously they deserved something from it. I think looking back, most of our players did think that we weren't going to go through just because of the amount of players that we had. We were lacking on attack. We were lacking something as well. But actually, it turned out quite well for us. Joe, talking about Spain and Group A, if I remember correctly, you did beat them 1-0, and was it an easy game or was it a quite hard game?
Are we talking about Spain?
Yeah, when you beat them 1-0.
It was more than 1-0. It was 5-0 in fact.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was 5-0. Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. Well, at the start, we just changed a different formation, changed a few players around, put a new goalkeeper, a new striker, a new Any, and another midfielder. Because the games before we didn't have enough players, so basically we put a new striker in and a new goalkeeper, which made the team much more easier to play with. So I told the Any to play a certain way that I like playing if they don't have a centre back, and as we played that way, we played quite well and we prevailed and won. And we were quite dominant in the first half, and we just laid low a bit in the second half just to make sure.
All right, so this is a question to all of you, and we'll go from Jaffa, Manny, and then Joe. You can all answer it. What is your opinion on the way that the internationals is set out? Obviously, players are drawn at their national team, rather because obviously there's a few people that are saying that it shouldn't be that, and it should be that they get to pick their national team. What do you say, Jaffa? You can kick things off.
Yeah, I disagree with them. I don't think they should be allowed to pick because that's going to create problems, and it's also going to be unfair because what's going to happen is like people are only going to pick players from their own team or perhaps the best ones, and as a result, like the end result would be that you'd get nations which are full of City players or Chelsea players, etc. And it wouldn't be how it's supposed to be, where it's a group of mixed players in one team.
Hmm.
So I disagree with the fact that they get to choose. That's not how it works. That's not how it should work. It doesn't work like that in real life. I don't think it should work here. I guess drawing it randomly would be the most fairest way of doing it. My alternative to this would be like to pool all the goalkeepers and
Hmm.
defenders, midfielders, attackers, and then select one for each team. I think that would probably be the best way to do it, but that's my opinion.
For me, I think it's a great idea just drawing them out at random. There can be problems like what Jav said about their separating the groups out from like there being goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and attackers. Um, but I don't know. It just seems like it's a good way because that at least everyone has a fair chance of joining a different team, and
Hmm.
not being with the same people like they always are. They're at least being able to meet different people, um, and maybe for at least like you could have a good striker and maybe a bad goalkeeper that are in the same squad, whereas there being maybe like it could be a greater chance of there being a good goalkeeper, well, the best goalkeeper and the best striker in the league joining one squad, which could actually cause problems. Um, but it's if you just done it where people could get a pick, it's unfair because
Mm.
one team could have just not the greatest players in the league, and then the other team has the best ones, and it just seems like it always rules out that they're gonna win the Euros and they'll win every single tournament.
Well, I agree with Manny and Jaffa. Um, if you got to pick your team, then either you would pick like your friends or your club members, or you would pick the best players in the league, making it unfair for the opposite international teams who will end up just getting dominated if you have one of the best strike force or the best defense or the best any, which making it unfair for the opposite team.
Hmm. I do. As most people are saying that it's not right. They want to be with their friends. But I actually feel that meeting, because obviously I've met a few other people that I haven't actually spoken with before or haven't played with, and obviously it's a great experience for new members to meet new people. You get to meet them, speak with them and so on. And I think it's a great way. Obviously, when you join a team where you've not played with them before, it's obviously good. The chemistry wise is not going to be there as such, but you've got to give it time. It's just like any game or team. It's like Di Maria going to Manchester United, Cuadrado going to Chelsea. They need time to settle in. So with chemistry on FIFA, it's the same thing with that. I think you're going to have to know, how everyone plays, where everyone plays, have to read the game and read your team as a whole. So I think it's a good idea. I do like the idea, though, from what Jaffa said, that we should have a pool of keepers, a pool of defenders, a pool of midfielders, a pool of strikers. Obviously, we'll look into that for the future. But yes, let's move on to the Premier League. Let's talk about from the fixtures from the Monday the 20th, which is round 15 from you know last week as such, because obviously we missed a week of match of the day, and obviously that's down to my errors, and my fault. But obviously there's games in the Monday of the 20th that have quite shocked a few people. I'm obviously going to start with Manny on the Arsenal and Hull game. That was 1-0 to Arsenal. What is your thoughts on that, and what do you think of what happened for Hull?
Um, well, it's astounding that such a result happened. because I'm sure no team in the BDA would expect that scoreline. Where you might expect there not to be many goals from Arsenal, but you should expect there to be some from Hull, since they're the top of the table, and they've scored like, is it the top 3 most goals in the league?
Mm-hmm.
And to lose 1-0 to a team that you would expect them to just topple over is crazy. And it makes them lose their form that they've had of winning games.
Yeah. Obviously, Jaffa, what would you say? Because obviously you were here when we were doing the text version of Match of the Day, and
Yeah.
Manny made that comment about Hall. Do you think now, looking at that fixture, maybe Hall should look at a defensive player more, or even have a change of formation, or see what's going wrong in the attack? Because obviously they couldn't score. Do you see Manny's opinion now and be like, actually, it does make sense for that game by looking at it?
Yeah, I do think Manny was right. Well, he's right to have his own opinion, but I do think he was right to say that they need another cam, because looking at the whole squad, it does seem like it was dependent on just a few individuals. Now, you may have teams who are cunning and decide that we're going to man mark certain key players of the opposite team, and therefore by doing that we can nullify their attack, or
Hmm.
nullify the team generally, and that might have happened there. We haven't seen what's actually happened in the game, but I do think they should really take on board Manny's advice and try and get some good players in. Although, like looking at a team now, they do have quite a few decent players in
Oh
there.
yeah.
Got Real Spray from City,
Hmm.
and
Which we'll obviously talk about when we
yeah,
come to transfers. But obviously, I personally do think, because obviously they've changed the formation with the recent signings and the recent recent games. But obviously, I think um, Hull do need the extra attacker, which I do see them with that formation that they are going to be starting to use, which is a 4-2-3-1. I do see that they are going to be able to provide more for their striker. I think because of the transfer, which we'll talk about with Spray, I think that has helped Hull develop a bit more and understand what Man City have done to get the goals. And now I think if Hull can actually have the chemistry that they had before, and obviously and improve it. Having 3 cams, I can see them scoring loads more goals and actually scoring and actually getting 3 points. Moving on to the next game, we'll talk to you, Joe, first of all, on the West Ham Burnley game. Now, there is a bit of, you look at the result and with the recent news of cheating going on, it does seem to be that the game needs to be restarted, like it needs to be replayed, or it needs to come out as a different result. Because clearly, if they're cheating and it's 5-0, it's not on. What would you say?
Well, obviously, if the opposite team was cheating, then it's unfair on plenty of the other teams that are below them or above them, as they will be losing out on either the goals or the points that they could gain from either their team winning or losing. And if the other team were cheating, then I think it would be unfair for them to do that, as it would affect the other teams and make them unhappy, and by that they will get a bad name to their team, like no matter how many managers and all that go through them.
Yeah, I understand. So obviously, Jaffa, obviously, there's some people saying that it should be looked at and maybe come out as a 0-0 draw. Would that be the option there, or do you think there's nothing we can do now, but just move on for the next games and make sure that it doesn't happen again with any of the teams?
I do think we need to look at these games, because obviously in this game West Ham had the advantage, and obviously that's not fair, because then you're cheating the other team out of the opportunity to get more points. So I don't think it's fair for us to just leave it and say, "Oh, we'll make sure it never happens again," because clearly it's had an effect on the league tables, and we should consider like having a replay or something else. Hopefully we can. I do think replays is probably the best option to make it the most fair.
And so we're just going to move on to the next game, which is the Newcastle Arsenal game, which finished 7-0 to Newcastle. We're going to come to you, Manny. Obviously, we were just talking about the Arsenal Hull game. What happened? Because clearly they beat the top team and they're playing Newcastle, a mid team, obviously where they are as well. Do you think the pressure got to them? Did they get overconfident? What are your thoughts?
Well, there are different reasons to it, and we can't exactly say how such a scoreline like this happened. But some of the reason could be that yes, they might be they might have been overconfident with their win over top of the table Hull, and then just thinking they can win every game, which of course maybe might be good motivation, but it can actually not. It might deceive you, and just think that Hull might have been not on their game, and it was actually just Arsenal. But maybe a loss of players for Arsenal. They might have had enough players to like dominate the whole side if that happened, or maybe just like lost players just caused there to be a drought in midfield maybe, and cause an easier loss if there was enough players on Newcastle side.
Yeah, so obviously, I do see what you're saying there with Hull maybe just being out of form and whatever. Yeah, Joe, I just want to move on to another game now, because obviously we're going through these thick and fast, because obviously we're going to go through a lot. Looking at Leicester, because obviously there's a big question mark above you and Reece and Man City. What happened exactly with Man City buying Reece for 40 million? Because obviously looking at the games on the 20th, Man City played Leicester, where Reece was actually playing for Leicester at that time, and it finished 6-1. He played in the Leicester game against Chelsea, finished 5-1 to Chelsea. He conceded 11 goals. Do you look back and think maybe I did rush on the 40 million, or do you think it was a good deal at the time, but obviously something's changed recently?
Well, in my opinion, it was a good signing, no matter how much it was for. But maybe it's just the other players around Reece that could be putting pressure on top of him, due to him coming back from City back to Leicester, and they might be maybe making him think, oh, if I don't do well, they're gonna hate me and not really like me much. But I think it's just gonna take him a little bit more time to settle in, and once he's settled in and he knows how to work with the NE and everyone else in the team, and once he gets used to playing other teams, like the new teams in the Premier, then he will be able to play against them and maybe like make a different scoreline for them.
Because obviously I see what you're saying with Reece and the team, but obviously there is a question. I think everybody's, I think it's around BDA quite, a lot. But with the problem that people have is you've paid 40 million for a goalkeeper, and people do see that as, obviously that was the first huge signing for anybody in BDA, but they do look at that and be like, Jesus, that is 40 million for a goalkeeper. What made you feel that 40 million was the right price?
Well, in the games that he'd played before, he'd played pretty well, and I know that his manager didn't want to let him go for a quite a low price, 20 to 30 mil. So I had to pay a high price for him, and I thought to myself, once we get him in, if he starts playing really well, the price that I paid will show off to other teams as, oh, that was all right price, and then they might want him and pay more, so I could make profit on him. But as I dropped down, you sold him for a lower price, and obviously that was your decision. And he obviously didn't really enjoy playing at City after he stepped down. But in my opinion, if he stayed and he wasn't playing that bad when he was at City, he would like rack up the value, and then maybe if he ever wanted to go again to another club, the saves and everything that he'd made and the price that we paid would make him think again and maybe pay a bit more for him.
I do see what you're saying, and I just want to make sure that obviously, with when you stepped down, Reece decided to, say to me that he's going to be inactive as he's got a new job, and at that time he said he's unsure if he's going to be able to make games. So obviously I took, as any manager would, is to find a replacement or a second, backup keeper, which we did. And he took it the wrong way, and it's all sorted now between me and Reece, I'd say. I don't think Reece is going to hold anything over that. I think he understands everything. But anyway, moving on to the big game, which everybody was talking about. I'd say everyone was definitely talking about, for sure. We're going to talk to you, Manny, and then Jaffa, on the Hull City and Man City game, which turned out to be a draw, 2-2. What's your opinion on that then, Manny?
Well, it was two top teams just trying to get to the best scoreline they can, and maybe like half of the people in BDA thought Hull was going to win, maybe half the people thought Man City were going to win, and I don't think anyone exactly expected a draw. Maybe they thought, since Hull were top table by fair amount of points, they may have thought that maybe Hull would be, the top side to win the game, and maybe just City held their ground, tried to dominate Hull, and it seemed like quite a fair game from the result, and from two top sides, maybe it's a fair result.
I do agree on your thought of it should, it's a fair result, and I think it was a fair result, even though I spoke with Blood Bullet after, like, sent him a message, and he sent me a message as well, is that he was saying that they played at a low standard. They just were off their game, so obviously that was obviously must have been affected after the loss against Arsenal, but I think it was a fair result to 2-2. Two of the teams that are going for the title, but I do think that it's going to come down to that next game, Man City versus Hull, to decide, by the looks of things, to decide the title. I do think if Hull actually get a point from it, I do see them actually winning the title. I do think it's a must-win for Man City. What would you say on that then, Jaffer?
It was a close game, but I don't think Hull was at their best, because clearly they weren't playing very well when they played against Arsenal when they lost 1-0. So perhaps I do think Hull were possibly not at their best at the time. If it was like Hull at their peak, then maybe it might be a different result.
Yeah. Obviously now we're going to move on to another result on Sunday the 26th. That was a huge game in everybody's opinion, because obviously both of them are again looking for the title and pushing up the table, which was Spurs and Hull City. Now this is a result that was a huge shock, and I would say to the entire BDA players and users and members, because obviously Spurs were more or less the same stats wise on the league table compared with Hull City. They were more or less equal. They had the same amount of everything, more or less, and it finished 10-0 to Hull. Vipers, what do you think happened for Spurs? Was it coming back from the internationals? Was there a because obviously the manager wasn't present at that time. Do you think maybe that affected Spurs, the internationals, and not having the manager there?
Well, that could be a key part that played in the reason that they lost, or it could be that the fact that Hull are one of the top teams, and that they lost. They thought they were going to get an easy game, but because Hull had lost a few of their games before, they wanted to come back, fighting back for the title. So they probably played very well, and at that point they were probably on their game, wanting to win, so they can show that they're not messing about, and they know that they lost a few games, and to show the teams that they still know what they're doing, and they're not really looking to mess about with losing and just carry on losing. So they decided to put it all out.
Yeah, what would you say then, Manny, of that game, Spurs versus Hull?
I would say it's a shock. It's the joint highest scoreline in the league, joint with Everton against Chelsea. And you wouldn't expect. I didn't expect 10-0. Maybe a whole win, or maybe like 2-1 or 2-0.
Because obviously as well, their goalkeeper did comment in after saying that he did lag out after the second goal. Because that obviously is a huge problem for the club, and even for any team, if their goalkeeper either leaves, lags out, or just loses connection or whatever, it is a big problem, because obviously the keepers in FIFA just aren't as good as having somebody in goal that's actually controlling him. Would you say that was a factor in that 10-0 loss?
Yeah, I would. But you gotta think he wasn't their main keeper, was he? I'm sure he was there. I'm sure he's plays left back.
Yeah, he's normally their left back. GP De Gea is their normal keeper, but I don't think he's turned up recently.
But maybe if GP De Gea was actually playing for them, it could have been a different scoreline. Maybe it could have been still a loss, but if it was a loss, I'm sure
it might have been
been
closer.
It wouldn't be as far of a margin as 10-0. And so I think De Gea let them down. I thought that maybe after conceding 2 goals and Demented Pony disconnecting, I thought that just didn't give Spurs any motivation. It just made them think they're going to lose, and just, of course, you'd see them just conceding goal after goal after goal, which isn't a positive result.
Obviously, there's been managers stepping down recently over of the course of the time recently. So obviously, it's caused a lot of the games on Sunday to actually be postponed, or to be just a default 1-0 win to the team that's been active. Do you think, though, Jaffa, moving on to the West Brom Swansea game, do you think that Swansea have taken it full advantage over that and beat West Brom 5-1? Maybe that could actually help them steer clear of the relegation battle and keep dragging. And obviously, West Brom dragged more further into the relegation fight.
Maybe. I'm still a bit unsure, because I haven't really followed West Brom that much. But yeah, they probably would have taken advantage. I mean, they need all the points they can get, because where they are at the table, I think they're. Let me just check. Yeah, they're 18th, so they're in the relegation show. They need to get all the wins they can to avoid getting relegated to Championship.
Because obviously, Joe, if you look at the table, West Brom needed at least 3 points from some of the games, and they probably are going to be needing a few wins in their upcoming games soon, because if you look at it, there are 8 points. There's an 8-point difference, and there's an 8-point gap between 18th and 17th, and with West Brom's goal difference, that is a huge margin, and that could actually come into play for West Brom. Do you think that they need to change something up? Because obviously there's a new manager now, because obviously recently the manager stepped down. Do you think maybe that new manager needs to keep positive, make sure his players don't think that they are going to get relegated, and if they do, to think positive and be motivated for the games coming up?
Well, if the new manager starts to maybe ask them maybe where their favourite position is, or where they most played when the other manager was manager. And if he does start playing well then maybe he could tell the players that if we carry on playing like this and we get a perfect formation for us, we will not get relegation and we will start beating the big teams.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if he gets a co-manager that is one of the players that played with the old manager, then it might just work a bit better, and maybe he could start fitting in properly with the new team.
Yeah, I do see that, and I think if he keeps positive, he asks, makes sure that the players are playing in their favourite position. I do think that they could actually come back and cause problems for Southampton, because obviously Southampton are just above them, QPR as well, just 1 point above Southampton, and then it's another big gap, 6 points difference between QPR and Arsenal. It is all to play for still down there. I think that West Brom, Burnley, and Palace could actually come out of that relegation zone. I think Southampton and QPR could get dragged in, even maybe Arsenal, which would be a shame to see Arsenal drop down, I would say. But then moving on to Monday the 27th of April's games, Manny. Which game out of them does stand out to you as one that is a shocker or is a vital game for either the title race or the relegation?
I. Ooh. Well, I think probably the biggest scoreline and one that's very important would be the 40 result of Stoke beating Sunderland.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that 4-2 can seem like it greatly hindered the chance of Sunderland staying in title race. Of course, they're still in there, but it seemed like they have that lacking of actually being in there, and Stoke being at the moment ninth, it just seems a 4-2 result. It gives a negative result to Sunderland, and may knock them more down the table. Is very worrying for Sunderland to lose, and of course any loss is very of course terrible for the team, but it
Yeah.
just seems like it knocks them away from that title.
I do wanna say though, I think that could actually help Stoke, because if they do keep on a winning streak and actually continue to win their remaining games, they could actually push for the top two spots. They could actually upset the most two, obviously, that are in everyone's minds the title contenders with Hull City and Man City. They could actually be one of the underdogs, what is it? Is it underdog? Yeah, yeah. The ones that
Yeah.
not actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, use the right word.
Oh, thank you very much. I do think that Stoke obviously could actually pop up the table undercat. What about whatever's? But I do think Stoke will obviously be up there if they do win their remaining games. I think if they pick up the points from their remaining games to 22, they could actually get on to 52 points, which obviously would take them above Man City and would narrow the gap between Hull. So Hull might actually only see Man City as their title contenders, and obviously with their game against, obviously we may as well say obviously their third game on Monday night, which was Stoke versus Hull. We'll move on to that game now. Is that was an important game for Stoke. If they won it or got a point from it, that could actually cause an upset for Hull. But Hull took advantage and beat them 4-2. What do you think, Jaffa? Do you think exactly what I'm thinking, that Stoke could actually now push for the top two?
Well, I'm not sure really. I mean, they do have games to play, but I don't know if they're going to win all of them or not. Also, I'm just give me a second. I'm gonna have to look through the game that they have. I mean, they got Everton. That's going to be a tough game. Swansea, they could win it. They do have Man United, QPR. I mean, it's possible for if they do win them all. But obviously, we'll talk about Everton and who else? Spurs. I mean, Spurs haven't been doing too well, but it'd still be tough to beat them if they do get their act together, and Everton as well. So I'm not sure if I'm quite with you that Stoke could do it.
Because obviously Stoke have still got Man City to play, like you said, Everton, and like you said, Spurs. I do think that they've got a few teams from the top half or just above them, but they do have the likes of Manchester United, QPR. And I do think they're going to be playing a lot of the teams that are in the bottom half of the table. Could that be where they could gain their points and then play Man City, beat them, because they did play Man City early on in the season and beat them 4-0? Could that be the vital game for Stoke and Man City?
Possibly, it could be where the league is won and lost. Oh, the battle for second position is won and lost. So yeah, it could be interesting. I mean, obviously they did beat you 4-0, but you do have you have made changes to the team and you brought in new players, so perhaps it could be a different result.
So
I'm still not quite with you that Stoke could do it.
Yeah, because obviously you look at the Stokes squad depth and it's not that deep, or to cover for players and so on. But moving on to the game that obviously is a bit of a shock as well compared to what we were just talking about, Spurs and Hull. You look at the Spurs Man City game; it's actually a completely different story. It finished 3-3. Now, is that a game changer or what, Manny? Because clearly, if Man City can't do what Hull did against Spurs, could that mean that Man City haven't got what it takes to push the teams like Spurs and so on and get the point and challenge Hull?
Well, it seemed normally the way we were going is we were going pretty well. We were on a 2-1 winning, and there was quite a bad story about in the game with our keeper, who was Suarez, and that he was not playing. He was AFK. I mean, he didn't pause the game. He didn't leave, which of course just made him stay out of position. And they scored a goal, and then when Suarez came back, they scored another. And that really dampened the team's spirit from aiming to win the game, which is not a positive result. Of course, a draw is better than a loss, but I think if Suarez, or if we had a different keeper playing and playing for the full game, I think it would have been an easy win for us.
So was it a bad signing that happened, or was it just bad timing for Suarez with what happened? Obviously, he went AFK. Do you think it was on his behalf, or was it just does he do that often for Man City, or is that just a one-off occasion so far?
It's not a one-off. It's not occasionally happens, but it's just like at random times where he picks the worst times to go away, which is not what you want. It's an important game for us. We're playing against a top 6 side, that it seemed like we needed to win to actually uplift our spirits of catching up to Hull. And if we beat Tottenham and then we won our next game, we would be in the same amount of games as Hull, but we would be 4 points behind. Which, of course, if Hull on one of the days lost one and drawn one, we would be on the same amount of points if we won our other 2 games.
All right. Sorry, I didn't know you.
Oh no, I'm just saying. But Suarez it just bugged me that he just went.
I'm sure it would bug everybody in any team if it was like that, if that happened with their team. Obviously, we're going to move on to the final fixture that we did maybe miss one or two, but obviously we can do that in a another time, or we can do that in the next episode, because we've got a lot to cover. We want to make sure that obviously it's not a long content for you guys. So obviously the last game we're going to talk about, I'm going to go to Vipers on this, is obviously the Newcastle Palace game, which finished 7-2 to Palace, who are actually at the bottom of the table on 7 points, and Newcastle are in 10th position on 32. Was that a very, very, very important game for Palace to actually start their, the ball rolling, and could they actually started to push for the out of relegation?
Well, now, because Newcastle lost to Palace, Palace have now got the energy and the happiness to think that they won't get relegated. They beat a mid-table side, so they know that they should be winning a lot of games now that they have some confidence boost in the players. So it was quite a tough game, I think, for them, because the games that they played before, it would just make them think, oh, if we lose this, that's it, we're not really gonna do anything well. But they pulled it out of the bag, and they won.
I do think though, you're saying that they should do that, that they're like, oh, they're out of the, they're thinking, oh, it's a great thing. It is a great win, but I don't think they should be thinking that they're out of the relegation battle because of that win. I do think that they do need to carry on that momentum. They did pick up 6 points from that 3 of the games on Monday, but they do have a very tough game against Man City on Thursday, and then they have Chelsea. So that could hopefully, it will hopefully change for them and bring momentum constantly for them, and maybe they could actually make an upset against Man City, maybe. Moving on to the Championship, this is obviously the new league, which is starting this Sunday. We're going to talk about the new fixtures, which have been recently announced for Sunday's games, round 1 and round 2, and then we'll possibly look on Monday's games as well, round 3 and 4. There is 14 games in total for the Championship. There's 8 teams fighting for obviously the top 6 technically. Obviously the top 2 will get automatic promotion, and 3rd to 6th will play in a playoff match, or playoff matches I should say, and then final. What do you think of the league so far? Do you think the teams are looking sharp? Do they look interesting as such, Jaffa?
Yeah, I think it looks interesting. I mean, we've already seen a few teams setting up their teams, and they do look almost complete, if not complete yet. I mean, Cardiff, Leeds, Norwich, Sheffield Wednesday, they've all Watford and other teams. I mean, they've done a good job of recruiting players, and yeah, but we haven't really seen most of them. I mean, there are a few that have come from the Premier League, including managers like I have a huge Willer. So it'll be interesting to see how well they cope in the Championship. Obviously, there's less games, so perhaps as there's less games, every game would matter. So they have to go for it as they go through the league games.
Yeah, obviously, guys, if you don't know, but obviously we're in a Skype call, and obviously the chat's going off, and obviously Vipers is saying, oh, you had to say Leeds in there, get Leeds in there. What's going on there, Joe? Why, because obviously Jaffa's a Leeds fan. Should he not include Leeds then?
No.
No.
It's fine. It's just,
Because
a bit of rivalry, things that he says,
what are you going to say about that, Jaffa?
Oh, I mean, I was just going through the teams. I do think Leeds have a good team. I mean, I was a bit nervous that perhaps Jack Attack might not get a squad at least, but I think he's done a good job, and hopefully he'll lead the team. But I'm not being biased towards Leeds in any way. I mean,
no.
No, not at all.
I think most people who I'm a Chelsea fan. I think most of the time I will obviously put Chelsea, no matter even if I'm not playing with it. If it's BDA, if it's the real Chelsea in my team, even if it's some people that I don't know, I'll give them support. And I think that's what you're doing, Jeff. And I think that Joe, it's the same with Manny, isn't it, Manny? You're a Borough fan. Obviously, you're saying, oh, It's BDA, it's FIFA, but still, it's going to be like it's a second league.
Of course, yeah, I do want Borough to get promoted into the Prem, but I mean, it's not. I'm not gonna back them fully. I would, because I'm not too.
You're not confident?
I wouldn't be too interested. No, it's not confident. It's just not. I wouldn't be too interested about like, if my BDA Borough team would win the championship. I'm not too into it. But
But surely it
I
would be a good thing to have, because obviously
oh
you
yeah,
would have the option of either playing against them if you are, say, a manager of a Premier League team and you're coming against your team Borough, or if Borough do get promoted and you're interested in signing for them. I'm sure that would be a good chance and a good offer for you.
yeah. It's just like I wouldn't, just because someone's picked Middlesbrough, it doesn't mean I'm just gonna back them up. You
Hmm.
know. Um, one thing I do worry about is the squad count, because they've only got 3 people, including the manager, and in my opinion, that's not enough for the team. If they want to go, because of course the transfer window in the championship ends on Sunday. They can get some players in, but I worry that they can actually bring in enough players to make them a top 2 side. It's
Hmm.
worrying for me.
Obviously, with the transfer window is actually technically closed, but I do for them to sign free agents, they can. That's the normal rule for Premier League and Championship. The transfer window is closed on Sunday and Monday. That's just passed, um, but they can still sign free agents. They can still loan players. That's not a problem. But obviously, I do look at the squad, and I would say I am with you on that. They don't look appealing, because if one of them misses the day or can't make it, where are they going to look? They would surely need to look at maybe another 2 or 3 players at least. Obviously, we're moving on to the fixture itself. So let's move on to the round one fixture between Leeds and Wolves. Two teams that have straight off the bat have got some interesting, an interesting squad, because obviously if you look at the squads, they have both got a decent amount of signings. We do have a few players that have previously played in the Premier League. If you look at the manager himself, Jack Attacks, the player that they've got on loan, Tech Fury, which I'm sure has recently been released from Newcastle. You have the Newcastle manager, ex Predator, low expectation. Obviously, he was a big player in the Premier League, and will always be, I'd say, is a top player in any league. And then if you look at Wolves, you've got Sweet Left Foot, Cryptic Corrupt, VPI Rivaldo, which is obviously a new member. You've got Flux X Legends, Red Devil. So I'm sure that is going to be a very interesting game. Would you say, Jaffa, that it will be interesting to see how, you know, the game will come out?
Yeah, I'd say it'll be interesting. I mean, we've seen we know that Corrupt's done well for Villa, top scorer, and also a sweet left foot. I do remember Mane complimenting him earlier. So yeah, Wolves do have some good, decent players as well. Leeds, on the other hand, also have quite a lot of good players like low expectations. Um,
Hmm.
I can't remember the other thing, but
XX
it's going to be
Predator.
interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
but then there's a lot of players we've never seen before,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and we haven't seen them play with each other. So it's going to be similar to Euros in that they never play with each other. So it's about like the managers, can they get their team to pull together? And also, it's also kind of interesting because Jack Attack's never managed a team before, so would he be able to do it? Is he up to the job?
Hmm.
Sweet left foot. Has he managed before? Just help
No,
me out.
he hasn't
He hasn't
managed
managed
before.
before,
It's his first manager spot.
but he's played before,
Yes.
so
Yeah. Yes.
he does have some experience, but it's not like anything major, to be honest.
Moving on to the next game, which is Norwich versus Cardiff. Now, again, it's obviously players from the Premier League as such moving over to the Championship, which is it's a good thing. It's a good it's a good way to keep both leagues competitive. I do feel that Championship has the experience with new members, and I think that is going to be perfect match for it. But what do you think, Joe, on the two squads? Because obviously Norwich have got King of the Boots. They got Evil Scotsman, who's the manager, but he's obviously, I think it's his first season, and it's obviously his first managerial spot. He's got Gifted Tea Cake and VPI De Gea, who was actually quite in form for Sunderland until recently, and then he's obviously dropped off and went to Norwich. And then if you look at Cardiff squad, I have a huge Willer, Extreme Ingers, II Adam, CP James. Are they big? Is it going to be a tough game, do you think, or is it one-sided?
Well, considering some of the players that came from the Premier League to both of them teams, I think it should be quite a good game for both of them, as they both have experienced players, decent goalkeepers, good attackers and midfielders. So I think it should be a good game, and the outcome of the game would be not one-sided at all. It would just be, I don't know, it might come out a draw in my opinion, just because the way two teams are looking.
I don't know. I just want to bring this in, Joe, because obviously you're very talented on spotting keepers and paying a lot of money for them. Is that obviously Cardiff have paid 20 million for CP James? Do you think that's a bargain? Do you feel that is a little bit a bit excessive for him? What's your view on that?
Well, I think if you pay good money for a goalkeeper that's going to play well, then I think that that's fine. The reason I paid that much for Reece is because I thought he would play well, but you sent him out to another club, didn't you? So if they spend 20 mil on a goalkeeper that they think is going to perform, then well, be it on them. But I think if they think James is going to play well, then I think that's some money well spent. And if he plays well, then he's gonna get them some money back on him.
Yeah, I do agree that I think CP James is definitely one. I was actually trying. I was trying to get. Oh my god! I was trying to get him to join Man City, but obviously Hall at the time didn't want to let him go. And we will obviously move on to the transfers of that, because obviously that's our next. Well, actually after the cups, but that's our next topic as such. So it's going to be interesting to to see how he does, because I do feel that he is one of the top keepers. Even Blood Bullet said he feels that he's the best keeper in the league. Maybe his idea was not to actually let him go to another Premier League, Premier League team such as Man City, because obviously they're fighting for the top spot. So maybe that was his opinion of, I'll let you go to a Championship team but not a Premier League team, because obviously he doesn't want to come against him and so on. So I see that as a good idea from Blood Bullet. Moving on to the last, obviously round 2 of the Championship fixtures, we're going to look at the Millwall and Leeds game. I know we're looking at Leeds again, but I think that's going to be an interesting game just because of isn't there a bit of a rivalry between Millwall and Leeds in actual football?
In real life?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, from my knowledge, Millwall Leeds games don't always go peacefully. They always have to have police officers and riots and stuff. So it's not always the most peaceful games. I don't know if that's going to play in game. I don't think it will. Hopefully not.
No, hopefully not. There's not some balls thrown onto the pitch, but but I do want to look at Manny's point of view towards you, Jaffer, of Borough not got many people in their team, but it's the same with Millwall. Do you think Millwall will have to try and sign a couple more players just to make sure that they've got the depth there, just in case one or two can't make it?
Definitely. I mean, there's always going to be a time when one or two people can't turn up, and then you're stuffed. So obviously you need more players, because if you don't, then you're limited with what you can do. I mean, not only you won't have enough players, so let's say only certain game won't turn up, so you won't have enough players, but also versatility. I mean, you won't have much opportunity to change your team around with a few players, and also like you also need defensive players to hold your team as well, because we've noticed from that a few teams have lost, and those teams that have lost like pretty badly don't have any defensive midfielders or defenders. So I
Mhm.
think it's necessary to have more players.
We're going to move away from the championship, and I do want to, before I do say so, is I wish everybody in the championship the best of luck. Obviously, it's going to be a good fight, and both obviously Premier League and the championship will end on the 17th of May at the same time. So I wish everybody the best of luck. Moving on to the cup. Obviously, there's no championship teams yet announced. Obviously, into the cup, that'll be next season alone. Um, but moving on to the cup, we've got the Newcastle Arsenal game, which is, I think is going to take place at 7. It's probably been already played um, by the time that you've probably watching this. But obviously Newcastle Arsenal are playing, Leicester, Sunderland, Aston Villa, Spurs, Manchester United, and Everton. Obviously there has been Everton played Manchester United in the Premier League recently. Obviously, Everton beat Manchester United 3-0. Could that be, because obviously Manchester United as well have caused a spark against Everton, I'm sure, recently when they beat them 1-0, I think. Let me just scroll back up here. Yes, yeah. On Monday the 27th, Manchester United did beat Everton 1-0. Do you think that could actually happen again in the cup final? Well, not cup final, but quarter final. Manny?
All right, what I believe is that it can depend on the form of the team during the league, which can end the result in the quarterfinal. And if Everton stick to their form and Mawson keeps sticking to his goal scoring routine, um, I think it will be an Everton semi final. Um, and that Man U, if they're not too high in the table at the moment, are they?
No, but
They're
obviously, if you look
they're
at
like
that,
12th.
if you look at the fixture though, obviously Everton are in the title race and at the top, and Man United are probably going to be thinking, well, we can't win anything. Let's just try and win the cup. Could that benefit them more than Everton?
It can, yeah, because if you're not aiming for the title, if you're not aiming for the title, at least it can make you. Because Everton, yeah, I would agree that they won't be as bothered with the cup, but they may think they want to win the cup if they think that if Hull are going to win, they may think that Hull or Man City may win the title, so they may think we're going to try and finish in the top two or maybe the top three, um, and then just win the cup as a successful season for Everton.
Mm.
Because in past seasons they've not really been in the top area, have they? They've never really been in like the top
Mm.
three. And of course, maybe just aim for the top three for them, and winning a title will just give them a good history of
Yeah.
how successful they've been throughout the seasons.
Joe, moving on to another cup match: Leicester versus Sunderland, fourth versus fifth in the league table. Would it be a close and interesting game? Do you think it would compare to the rest of the cup fixtures?
Yes, it should be an interesting game just due to how they play in league, and they're both quite balanced teams in a way, as in the attack and the midfield. So the way the two teams probably will counter attack each other, maybe one team will have the first half and the second team will have the second half, but it should go well
Mm-hmm.
for
Because
both teams.
what obviously Reese is at Leicester, but surely because you're saying that they're both balanced on attack and defense. Again, again, Reese is their keeper. Surely he's been recently informed he's got over, I think, 100 and something saves altogether in this season. That is incredible. I think that's obviously the most amount of saves this season. That could obviously, recently he's been informed, and I'm sure he will, you know, be the part and play his part quite well for that cup game. I'm gonna run through the four fixtures. I'm gonna ask Jaffa, who do you think is gonna win? Straight one team, one word.
Straight up.
Yeah, just straight up. Who do you think? Newcastle, Arsenal.
Newcastle.
Okay, Newcastle, Leicester, Sunderland.
Leicester.
Aston Villa, Spurs.
Spurs.
Man United, Everton.
Everton.
Okay. So then I'm going to say the same again to Manny. Newcastle, Arsenal.
Newcastle.
Leicester, Sunderland.
Leicester.
Aston Villa, Spurs.
Spurs.
Man United, Everton.
Everton.
Oh.
Definitely Everton.
And again, same to you, Joe. Newcastle, Arsenal.
Newcastle.
Reece, Sunderland. No, it's Leicester. Leicester, Sunderland.
Leicester.
Aston Villa, Spurs.
Spurs.
Man United, Everton.
Everton.
All right, cool. So I think everyone's on the same. I'd say everyone's on the same. We're going to now move on to transfers. Now, this is obviously the biggest news, and it doesn't happen that often. Obviously, it only happens once or twice a season. So we're going to move on to. Shall we start? Where do you want to start? Do you want to start from the bottom values and go up, or do you want to start from the highest? What do you say, guys? What do you want to start?
Bottom up.
All right,
Yeah, I would say bottom up, end with the biggest.
Okay, so obviously I'd say the bottom out of the ones that are on my list is obviously CP James to Cardiff for 20 million. Manny, would you say that's a bargain? Do you think that's the right move? Do you think Blood Bullet could have held on to him for the rest of the season?
I'd say keeping CP James till the end of the season would have been a better move, just because at least then Blood Bullet believes since he believes that he has the best keeper in the league, or at least he did, it would have made him feel safe, like in his defensive area when he's defending. At least he can feel like if to take a shot, James can save it. And I think that's what you need in a team: comfortability of your goalkeeper. Knowing that your goalkeeper can make good saves, and making that loss can negatively affect them. Even though they're selling for 20 mil, it can negatively affect them by just worrying in their goal.
Yeah.
Because now it's Taz. Since he's like a new goalkeeper for them, it's not as comfortable. And 20 million, I think that's quite cheap for when Vipers bought Reece, when he believed he was the best keeper in the league. Oh, no, I'm just mentioning you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like when he believed he was the best keeper in the league, he bought him for 40 mil. And then when Blood Bullet and mostly believed that CB James this season has been the best keeper in the league, Cardiff bought him for half the price.
Yeah, because obviously I would say a few people have said that Haz is a very good keeper, the same as CP James, but his connection lets him down. Obviously that on its own, if I had the two keepers that were CP James and Haz has a bad connection. Do you think you would have tried to hold on to CP James for the rest of the season? Because obviously having a keeper that's not got the best of connection would, not be reliable.
Oh yeah, because connection is worrying. Because as you said before, if you have a keeper that's there for the whole game, he's better than actually just one that lags out in the middle of one. And that's I wouldn't like that. If you just know that maybe halfway through a game, a big game we get as well, like if it was Man City against Hull, a massive game, and halfway through your keeper goes, that just makes it easier for the opposite team, and of course can score more goals from that.
Joe, obviously you're commenting in the Skype chat. Obviously you don't want to butt into Manny, but what exactly are you saying that you would do then if it was you in that situation?
Well, are we talking about the goalkeeper with a bad connection, or like if I had to pick between two?
Just overall the question, because obviously you've posted in the chat saying you were telling him to get better internet, which you know obviously you would try and let them get a better, try and get them, put it in their minds.
Yeah, I'll put it in his mind to tell him to get better internet, because obviously if he's one of the best goalkeepers in the league, you don't really want to keep losing him each game.
Well,
But
no, well,
if there was another
they thought James was the
talking,
best keeper, so
if there was another goalkeeper, then I'm pretty sure they could trial him out, and maybe when he does get better a connection, they could put him in goal, and yeah.
What would you say, Jaffa, on the subject of the transfer then?
Of what? Of who? Sorry.
Of CP James.
CP James and it has.
Yeah.
So obviously, just regarding the internet thing,
Yeah.
Viper said he would tell him to get better internet. Well, yeah, but getting better internet might be a bit difficult for plenty of reasons. And obviously, if it means that he's going to have to pay more, then I don't think anyone has a right to say just get better internet. It's like someone telling me to get an Xbox so I can play for them.
Get an Xbox.
But generally, the transfer. I don't really follow much on transfer, so I can only trust Gamba.
But obviously, like I totally understand that you're not up to date with whatever
Yeah.
But the question to you is, if you were in the situation as Blood Bullet, you've got two keepers, both quality keepers. They're up there, but one of them has internet issues, and the other one, is 50-50. He'll stay or he'll leave. It doesn't matter. What would you do? Would you sell him, or would you try and hold on to him until the end of the season to just cover for obviously the guy that, if in case he doesn't turn up, then you've got the guy that has, he's as a quality keeper, but he has bad internet.
The one with the bad internet, I'd probably either consider put him out on loan, or just keep him in the team. But obviously, I'd have the other keeper full time, because I need, as a manager, I'd have to think about consistency and having regulars in there. Because if you have a keeper that's not in all the time, then that's going to be a major issue, especially when it's a requirement to have a keeper in.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at another transfer. Obviously, Jack the Ninja signed for Newcastle from Cardiff. I think it was 15 million. I think that itself is a great signing as such for Newcastle. But obviously, recently, Man City have loaned him out from Newcastle, and obviously will pay 40 million, or if as the option as such, at the end of the season. What is your, as a Man City player and a co-manager, Manny? What would you say that's a good, such as loan purchase from Man City, I should say?
I'd say it is a good deal, just to think, because at least you get him on loan and you can get to know him more, and at least if he's good company with the squad, that's what I would like for any player. If he's a guy who's comfortable with the squad, and he can have a laugh with everyone in there. But not just that, it's that at least we can understand him more, like how he plays and how good he can be with us. Because if he's not good with us, then at least we don't need to pay the fee that they're asking for him. And then at least we can just get a little think about how we can actually think about the deal. Because if we like him, then of course go ahead, I would say, and sign him. But
Alright,
it's all up to the end of the season.
So Jaffa, what's your opinion and thoughts on obviously Jack the Ninja just joining Newcastle and then going on loan to Man City?
Well, I'm not sure what's really going on there. I mean, we'd have to get inside to find out. But really, I don't know why they decided just to loan out straight away, maybe it might be an issue with some issue with Jack the Ninja for whatever reason, and Newcastle felt it was necessary to loan him out. Obviously, if City are considering getting him, then the loan might be just to see how good he is, and if they really want him, they can get him at the end of the season. It might be a way for Newcastle to get a bit of money from a free agent, I could say.
Mm.
Well, it's good profit, isn't it? If they do sell him,
Yep.
30 mil profit. That's it's good money.
It is good money for sure. Obviously, Joe, you wanted to talk. Obviously, and I understand what you're going to say. But what exactly do you think about the transfer? That's not just
Well,
a loan, anyway.
I mean, if you go from a middle class team and then a team either second or third or top offers you a loan, then you wouldn't really want to turn it down. And especially if you're the club owner, the manager is willing to pay 40 million to actually keep you after the loan, would make you want to go there, because if he's going to pay that much for you, you know that you are wanted at that club. And could I ask, what makes you want to pay 40 million for a keeper, as I did? And you kept asking me questions, George.
Basically, with what I did with Jack the injuries, obviously we were desperate for a keeper, and we are, we aren't now, just because. Obviously, when you were in charge at Man City, we did have a few keepers. You did sign a couple, and then you went big hat. Smashed that hammer down and said 40 million for Reece. Bang, sorted. He's in the team. Obviously, with Jack, we've actually gone with a loan, and we've actually made the option if we feel comfortable after the rest of the season, as if he's the right choice, right keeper, then we can actually pay the 40 million. If we feel that 40 million is a bit too steep for that kind of player, but he's worth something, and we were interested in him, we will make a counter offer. I think that's fair to say that recently he's just joined Newcastle, and they weren't going to look to let him go. So 40 million, we had to put a bit of more money into it to make sure that they are attracted to to accepting the loan deal. I think that's fair to say. So I think that's fair. So it's an answer to your question, I guess. Moving on to the next transfer is Heskey Time FC is going on loan from Leicester to Hull City. Obviously, there's lots of interest in Heskey Time. I'm sure there was Wolves. I'm sure that there was Sunderland, Southampton, a few other teams that were interested. There's obviously Man City definitely was. I think there still are. I can guarantee that. But what would you say, Manny, about Hull? Because obviously you majorly did criticise Hull and say that they do need to look at defensive players.
Well, with my time with Heskey Time at BDA France, I got to understand him about like how he likes to play and that, and I did like him. I thought he was a very good CDM, probably the best, or at least one of the best CDMs in the league. And if we did sign him, that would be great for us. I think he would be a great solid player that would work well with the team. Hull on the other hand, Bloodboard doesn't like it where he has CDMs and defensive players in the squad, which I was surprised that Hull were interested in, or Bloodboard was interested in after making that comment.
He may have listened to your comment and thought, well, actually, yes, obviously we've lost to Arsenal, we've dropped a point against Man City or whatever, 2 points, and obviously they feel that they see your comment and be actually like, well, actually, we do look at the previous results, we might need to actually up our team and actually squad and improve it. And obviously, I think they're going to definitely do that with Heskey Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, carry on.
No, it's just that I thought Blood Bowl would have just stuck to his comment, stuck by his word that wanting to actually just play for just stay with the cams and striker roles and not the CDMs and centre backs.
I'm not saying that that's just my opinion. He may have listened to your comment and actually looked at the
Yeah.
previous. I'm not saying that he's definitely done that. But anyway,
I know.
what do you think, Joe, of Heskey time? If you've played against him, you've spoken with him, you've played with him. I don't know what you've done. I don't know if you've spoken with him, what have you.
I haven't really spoken to him, but since most of these teams are quite interested in him, I will have to believe that he's quite a good player in many positions, especially if quite a lot of the top teams, like City and other teams, are willing to loan him out and pay for him.
Moving on to we've got 2 transfers left, and then we're going on to one last topic. We've got Vipers, of course, who's Joe, who's in the pie, who's left Man City to join Newcastle for 26 million. Jaffa, do you think that was a surprise move? Do you think, because obviously Joe is not left, well, he went on loan to Newcastle, I think season 1, season 2. Do you think it was a bit of a surprise that he's actually just jumped the gun and went, I'm actually going to leave?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm recalling this correctly, but did he join the party with their manager and just speak to them and then decide he's going to go to them without consulting you?
Well, what happened was, because obviously at that time we lost the player, we wanted to change things up, and Joe said to me, "Look, I don't want to play in goal. I want to play somewhere else." He wasn't being, specific on the position,
Right.
but he did say that he wanted to play an out role position. He didn't give me the position he wanted, so it was kind of a bit awkward between me and him. But then I was talking to Newcastle's manager, and obviously I wanted to sign their striker. Then they were saying we would like a replacement, and obviously they said, is Vipers available? I said to them, not really, because obviously we want to keep him. Then I went back to the pie with Joe, and I said, obviously they said they're interested in you, just so I could let him know, because I didn't want to hide the fact that Newcastle are interested in him, because I don't know what position he was at, what he was wanting. So I said they are interested in and want a replacement for their striker. Joe was like, "Oh, I've sent a message to Predator now. Then I'll be, so."
Yeah, that's what happened. Well, I guess having heard that, that becomes less surprising. And also the fact that Joe's always been saying that he wanted to leave and stuff like that. I mean, we've heard it a lot. It's just surprising the fact that he actually went and done it, because he's done it. He's been saying it for a long time and hasn't done it up until then.
Manny, what's your? Because obviously you've known Vipers for a while. You've played clubs with him. You've managed him as well. What do you think of Vipers as a striker? Because obviously I think he's an amazing keeper. I think if he continues it, he will be. He can improve his skills and whatever. What's your view on that?
Well, as a striker, it's weird for him. He has good games and he has bad games. And I don't for a striker, I don't want it where a striker has good games and bad games. I want it to where he has between good games and great games. I just want it like that. And of course in the good games he may score goals, but I don't think he would score enough to maybe like our striker at the moment, rack him up. But I would say if he wanted to change position, I would listen to him and no, I would give him like different options. Like we're open for CDM and defensive and of course the goalkeeper. And if he said that he wanted to pick one of those, if he wanted to be like a CDM, I would say we should allow him to do that. But he didn't exactly give us the answer. So we didn't exactly know what to do. And I just think it could have been a different story, and maybe the deal wouldn't have happened if he actually said so.
Obviously, Joe, you may as well quickly just get your before we move on to the last one. What made you change then?
Well, I was, well, because you were getting new players in, which is fair enough, because obviously you need players that are going to be either better or performing or turning up for the games. But I just felt that I prefer to play in a less defensive position, i.e. like cam, striker, or like right mid, left mid, right on the wings or anything.
Yeah.
And I felt as you had already players for that,
Yep.
I felt that if another club needed a role that was an attacking type, like other cam, striker, or on the wings, because I prefer playing that, I would. Sorry, my mind messed up there, but as I was saying, I would rather go to a club that need an attacker role, as I feel I perform better in an attacking role than I would do in a CDM spot slash centre back spot, which were the positions available in Man City.
All right. Oh, excuse me. Oh my god. The final transfer, which is the huge and the biggest transfer so far in BDA leagues, is obviously the Real Sprague to Hull for 45 million and Jonesy. Do you think, Jaffa, that is a surprise itself? Because obviously Man City selling their probably one of the best players that they have or had to their rivals, which is Hull City.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I'm not sure why you'd really want to do that. I mean, if you're going to sell your best player, you may as well sell it to someone who's lower down in the league who's not going to affect you much, as opposed to selling it to decide to sell him for 40 million to Hull. I mean, if you're going to sell one of your best players, you may as well sell him to a team that's lower in the league or perhaps in the championship. They're not going to affect you much, rather than sell it to a rivals who's going to use them to their best advantage, and perhaps that advantage is going to affect your position in the table. I did remember seeing you say that he is your key player. He's the reason. He's the reason why you get the goals, why you get the wins. He's the reason why you get the chances to score the goals, and then you end up selling later on. So that was kind of a surprise. You did get Jonesy out of that. Actually, I'm not really sure about Jonesy, but I am certain that um, selling Spray might have been quite a loss for City. So I do question that decision by your part.
Okay, Manny, because obviously you're co-manager, you might have a bit more insight. Because I don't want to sound like I'm just defending myself. Obviously, if you feel the same as Jeff, or if you want to say something else, let it, say it now.
I would say it was actually it did seem like quite a surprise to sell them to Hull, but what you gotta think about is that it can.
Response to me.
Well, I would say that it actually is a good deal because it's not just that you're getting 45 million from it, but you get Jonesy as well, and his value at the moment is I think it's 8.5 million. Um, so to be honest, you get overall what is it 53.5 million pounds from one player. Um, and I was doubting Jonesy just from me only playing 2 games with him and maybe expecting it to be unreliable.
But you've changed your opinion on that.
Yeah, just because, just because he was the manager of BDA France, and he never said anything to me about, like, maybe him not being able to turn up. And I was questionable about it. But I mean, I'm okay with it now, just because the games I played with him, he does seem reliable, and he may not in the games, he may not always get the assist, but he always passes it to create that goal. He always passes it to the player who actually gets the assist, which can be key. And to be honest, now that I've came back, because I think I am a great cam.
Really?
Nah, yeah,
Really?
yeah. But I think that I've done pretty well. Like, I've played, what is it, 3 games with City, and I've scored is like 6 goals, and I've created like 5 or 6 assists with them in the 3 games.
Yeah.
Which I thought could actually be a good start for me to be that replacement for Spray.
All right. So I think that's more or less everything covered from International Premier League Championship, Cup, and transfers. The last topic, and then we're gonna end it right there, is obviously there's a it's a big problem and a big question mark over everybody's heads on this topic is club budgets being able to be bought. Now, there's few people that are saying that 10 million at the start is not reasonable. It's not, that they can't do anything with it. What do you think, Joe? What do you think on that topic? Do you think that it should be an option just in case some people do want to have some way of, being able to buy the club budget, or do you feel that they should only just earn it?
Well, I think it's a good idea that you can buy club budget, as if there's only like a few million left to buy this player that you really, really want. But I think it should maybe be capped off at a certain amount so people don't just keep using it so they can buy the best players like they're basically just ruining like the league in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But 10 million at the start is not that much, but the fact is the 10 million that you can bring in free agents, you can loan in players, just makes it much easier for you to buy players and make a team together.
Yeah, because obviously some people are saying, like, you even came up with the idea of let people be able to increase their loans. We'll obviously look into that, and we'll see what can actually be arranged for that. Because I think everybody's open to probably that option and an increase of loans or such. But
Yeah,
we'll
it is a good idea. 'Cause I came up with it.
yeah, you did, yeah. I'm sure people will definitely be open to listening for that as a thing for the future. Jaffa, what's your opinion and thoughts on it? Because obviously it's a strong topic because people agree and disagree with the option.
Well, bringing in the option to buy budgets, that could inflate players' prices, and so like, I mean, there wouldn't be like a value. Well, the value for players would go up, and people wouldn't value having a budget as much as they used to. So perhaps it could have a negative effect on the transfer market. But I guess, I mean, some people take it seriously. They really want to spend it. Um, in my view, though, I don't think it would benefit the league that much. I mean, if people complain about the budgets, then that's tough because everyone gets the same budget. It's about what you do with it.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Obviously, I do think people. It's like Ultimate Team, and I do see that it for us we can technically say, we are a community, we do listen to each other. BDA is around what everyone's put opinions on. Most of them are saying that they don't want it, but there is a few that are saying that they would. Would you be open to saying, because there was a comment from, I think it was DM, or was it Caddick Leon, that was saying it's an idea. It's an okay idea. It can help. Obviously, some people that want to have it as an option, but if that option came in and it did start to affect the league, it can be removed. Would that be an option, and would you be okay with that? Because you're saying that it would inflate the players' prices, and obviously.
Well, they should. Or I guess Vipers did suggest an idea to cap the amount you can buy. But that so that it wouldn't affect the league too much. I mean, it's supposed to be there just to give you an extra, just a extra bit of budget. But I do think it's still give an unfair advantage to others. And I don't think that's how how BDA should work, where people get an unfair advantage over others. I think everyone should have the equal chance to be able to spend. I mean, no one should have a better spending power over others just by spending their own money on it.
Yeah, I do see exactly what you're saying then, and I think there will be a few people. We'll see what Vipers and Jeffers, what you've said as well. Manny, what obviously, because I don't know what I don't think you're. I think you're 50-50 on it, aren't you?
There are pros and cons to a budget. That
Fucking hell.
Well, about the budget, there are pros and cons with it. It's that if there will be people who may like the idea, and there'll obviously be people who won't. And it's mostly just up to people who, if they want to use it, it's an optional choice. It's not just like, you have to buy it. It's just if you want to increase your budget, if you want to either buy a player but you don't have enough, so getting some more money may give you the chance to do it. I think it was Reese who commented saying rich kids will abuse it. I disagree with that. The people who are rich are not just gonna spend a lot of money and just constantly increasing their budget. There will be people who, some people may not have enough money, or just don't spend money to just increase a budget on, something that just makes them buy players on pro clubs. But if you think about it, it's rich people want to just spend loads of money on just getting their budget as high as they can. Because that's not what they're going to do. And if you want it, if they've done that, it doesn't mean if they're putting a bid for a player, it doesn't mean you need to accept it. Just because if they bought 100 million, just say they've done that, then it doesn't mean they need to accept that 50 million bid, just because they bought it. And of course, it gives money to you if people buy the money. Same with the membership.
My opinion on it is that is people will buy it, but technically, if they buy the amount that they want, doesn't necessarily that doesn't necessarily mean that the player or the manager will accept the offer. It is obviously up to each club and obviously each manager and each player. Doesn't mean you have to be like that. Anyway, it's just an option. I think that will be. I think definitely needs to be added just so it's an option. And obviously, if it does become abused and if it does affect the league hugely, such as obviously players inflate or whatever, I think we will look at it again. I think the prices for it is reasonable. I think it's at the right amount, and I think it will keep it balanced on people spending to get club budget. Moving on to one last thing is obviously club tasks. This is a big issue, big question mark again. People are saying that they're not as easy to get. Jaffa, what do you think?
I've already looked at the club tasks, but sorry, could you just do me a favor and just like give me an example of the club tasks?
Yeah,
Sorry.
because obviously the club tasks like a way for the clubs to actually earn a bit of budget whilst they're playing games in mid-season instead of selling players and what have you. So, for example, keep a clean sheet in one of your games will get you 500k. Score 4 goals in one game, or score with 4 different goal scorers. And you'll get 1 million, 2 million, or so on. And you do them tasks throughout, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday, and you'll get the value, your reward.
Yeah, keep a clean sheet in one game. I think that's achievable. I don't see why, if people say that's unachievable, I disagree. I mean, keeping a clean sheet is what you aim to do every game.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Joe, what would you say on tasks, club tasks?
Well, if you make a club task hard, then like a certain amount of clean sheets or a certain amount of goals scored, then I think the club will aim to get it, and if they do get it, then it will help them out in the league by either winning, keeping clean sheets, scoring, and then it will help them with their budget. So I think that it's good if it's hard, because then they'll aim to get that, and they won't just be, oh, it's easy, we'll get it next game, don't worry.
Because obviously there was one this week of playing with a full 11. Obviously that's the hardest one I would suggest. Like looking at what I've got as tasks to be put on, I think that is probably one of the hardest ones. I don't think there's there's not much harder ones than that. What would you say, Manny, on tasks as well then?
Well, task if you don't have much money, at least the task can give you the option of increasing your budget, and it can benefit the squad and buy new players. Another way is challenges. It gets the team going. It keeps them together and makes them, so like just say scoring 4 goals. It just makes the team more attacking and makes them want to achieve that. And at least like just say score 4 goals and you get 1 million. It's a sign of relief, and that you've achieved something, which I think is great to know.
Mm. All right then. So we've kind of covered everything. We've covered internationals, Premier League, Championship, cups, and transfers, and club tasks and budget. I'm sure everyone is grateful that you've probably tuned in all the way till this moment. You don't know how it is for us here to record this, to actually get it up and out. It is we're sorry that we missed it last week, but we are back, and we hope to keep it going with BDA Match of the Day. If you do want to leave your comment for the next episode, please do so and leave it in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button just so that you can get notifications of when Goals a Week, Saves of the Week, and Match of the Day is up. We probably are going to be looking at making a certain thing for Match of the Day for it's an announcement that's going to be coming out soon. Obviously, Match of the Day will be part of that announcement. We do look to keep going with Match of the Day. It's going to be entertaining. We're going to get some people on as well, special guests. If you wanted to jump on with us, then please leave leave your game tag and your details in the comment section. Not all your details. We don't need your address. We don't know. We don't need to know what you're wearing.
We have Vipers here. We have to be careful.
Yeah. But leave the details in the conversation, or send me a message. I10I space Hullet, and I'll send you a message, and we'll see how things are. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys later on.
Good night.
Bye. Have a good time.